What path might you take in your quest for total health?
Optimum health that encompasses mind, body, and spirit.
So join us now as we head to the frontiers of integrative health and well-being.
With Judy Brooks
Roy Walkenhorst
and Michelle Bernhardt, our Inner World Guide.
on Healing Quest. Thanks so much for joining us.
You know, as a general rule here on Healing Quest, we try to stick with reality. But today we're going to start with something very different.
We have more than 10 companies that use virtual reality technology, but they're really solving very real human needs that expand beyond just the excitement of this new technology.
We're going to visit the front lines of a new high-tech effort to combat our worst fears and phobias.
Speaking of fear, are we too afraid of food that comes to us exactly as nature made it?
This fanaticism that you got to kill all the germs in food, it's ridiculous.
You hear about some of the good things that can happen when you avoid the pasteurized, sterilized, non-fat items in the supermarket.
And to celebrate that, we'll have our natural chef, Carla DeLongre, cook up a very tasty breakfast.
And gluten. Are you a believer or a skeptic? We'll hear one famous chef's surprising opinion with some thoughts about bread that might be good for all of us.
So let's get started. We have some great insights to share with you on our journey to better health, right here on Healing Quest.
Broadcast of this program made possible by
So True, makers of organic, fermented whole food nutrition. All So True products are non-GMO, gluten and soy free, and fermented to help unlock the full potency of each ingredient. More information is available at SoTrue.com. So True, whole food nutrition designed for your best self.
Prime, a daily dietary supplement designed to support cardiovascular health by boosting the production of nitric oxide. More information available at primeno.com.
Vital Choice Seafood, wild-caught seafood and whole food supplements rich in omega-3s. More information about our wild seafood and our sustainable practices is available at www.vitalchoice.com or at 800-608-4825. In our many years on the frontiers of healing, we've tapped into a great deal of ancient wisdom.
We're really fascinated by how today's pioneers are using that ancient wisdom to help deal with our modern world.
Today, we're going to look in a different direction, at the future. It's a place where leading-edge pioneers are building a new reality in the realm of healing, virtual reality.
Our Inner World Guide, Michelle Bernhardt, is going to take us there.
Thanks, Roy and Judy. My trip into this new world took me to a small brick building in San Francisco's South of Market district. Inside, one startup company is taking a high-tech approach to healing one of the primal ailments of the brain, fear.
We talked to all the experts that we knew in virtual reality, and there were more than half a dozen of us that talked to as many people as we could, and started to triangulate on some really incredible opportunities.
Mike Rothenberg is a risk taker.
That's where companies like Sios and Fove and DeepStream stood out in a world where there were very few companies that had credible approaches to virtual reality in healthcare.
He's part of a new wave of venture capitalists who are betting on innovative ways to help heal bodies and minds. He's certainly not alone in backing the technology called virtual reality. You know those big goggles that engage you in 3D worlds of entertainment, travel, sports, gaming, you name it. But until now, not in a world of healing.
Fear of flying, fear of needles, fear of heights, and agoraphobia as well. So we have all these different scenarios that can help people.
Meet Xavier Palomer. He's visiting from his young company's headquarters in Barcelona, Spain. The co-founder and CEO of Sios is a bioengineer with a talent for technology and a passion for helping to cure us of our most common fears and phobias.
And Xavier is a very forward-thinking and passionate person who understands how to build this technology.
The SIOS technology for dealing with fears and phobias is new, but the method is not. It's simple exposure therapy. But if a patient is trying to overcome, say, fear of flying, he or she no longer needs to conjure mental images of airports and airplanes to do it. Xavier's SIOS system opens another door. Thanks to the internet, a way for a full-fledged therapy session to happen even while patient and therapist are miles apart.
You're going to show me the fear of flying one?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get, not always, but sometimes I do feel a little nervous in the plane.
So that's perfect.
Okay.
We are going to get over your fear.
Okay, show that to me.
So this is the control panel for the therapies. You have to remember that the patient usually wears the smartphone with this headset.
Okay, hold on. A smartphone and a headset? Well, what about those big, bulky goggles? It was another huge surprise. A lot of us are already carrying around a virtual reality machine in our pockets. Mike Rothenberg and one of his engineers demonstrated.
It works with almost any smartphone. And you, just like you're holding it the right way because you don't want the phone to slide out of it, but that allows it to be as lightweight as possible.
It's very light.
Of course, you can have the bigger ones that people have probably seen or are familiar with that cover up your peripheral.
I like this better. I feel freer.
Those lenses in the headset make specially designed video playing on the smartphone pop out into a full 3D experience.
Okay, what I'm doing is I'm watching a guy. He's like, well, he's gonna make. Whoa.
What are you doing now?
Like, I'm like in the water, I'm like a fish, or like.
Look to your left.
Just keep looking around. Just keep looking around.
Who's that?
It's all around you.
Oh my God, I'm like in the ocean.
Back with Xavier, he now takes on the role of therapist. He's controlling the program and the environment the patient, that's me, is in. I'll slip on the smartphone headset and a little biofeedback sensor. The therapist will see the readout on the computer screen.
Okay, so now we have both devices sync. So now we can hit the start button and the virtual reality simulation starts on the cell phone. So you see that in both places you see the same. Right. So the therapist is able to see what the patient sees and also to see what the patient avoids to see. The therapist can correlate where they are looking at, what's their physiological response. They can ask the patient how they feel, so they see if the thinking they have about how they feel is the same as the body is reacting to. So you have all these different inputs that you can match. And you feel comfortable?
Yes.
And you are now flying. And if you turn your head.
Oh, yeah.
So you are in a 360 environment, and I can change. Now I'm gonna change you the seat. So you are sitting now at the window. I'm gonna stop the turbulences.
Yes.
Your biofeedback measurements are going down, so you are getting relaxed, actually. So,
oh, that's good.
In the headset, I'm seeing the full 3D version of this. The seating process, the other passengers, the plane gathering speed through my window, and takeoff. What makes me nervous, what comforts me, the therapist will see it all.
At the end of the session, the therapist gets a report. So whenever they hit finish, and what we get is a full report of what happened throughout the session.
Wow.
So this is for the notes of the therapist, the patient also, because if you give them, they have a more tangible way to measure how they are improving.
Now, how does this help the patient? Xavier explains that when therapists identify which parts of the flying experience evoke a fearful response, they select particular relaxation exercises for the patient to use on the spot. It's all built into the program. But does it work? Alex Bastille, a Stanford University researcher, explains it's a big step forward for patients who have had to imagine frightening scenarios to learn to deal with them.
You know, exposure therapy requires a lot of cognitive energy to imagine yourself in a place, particularly one that that causes lots of anxiety, that is a very stressful scenario. So I believe that, you know, in using this for exposure therapy, it really takes a lot of that investment of energy away. I definitely see it being adopted by more people, significantly more within the year, you know, especially once the research picks up and we can, sort of quantify how effective this is.
Alex says the technology is especially promising for a particular group of patients.
Kids get excited because it's realistic. It's like a game. It's virtual reality. It's cool. So there's this buy-in factor that you can't really get with other therapeutic tools where, you don't have to pitch it as a therapeutic tool. You can pitch it as, virtual reality. What kid isn't excited about that?
SIOS for fear and anxiety, FOVE, virtual reality to give new abilities to people with conditions like muscular dystrophy. DeepStream, a promising use of VR to help manage pain without drugs. All currents in Mike Rothenberg's Blue River of startups, addressing new ways of healing.
We have more than 10 companies that use virtual reality technology, but they're really solving very real human needs that expand beyond just the excitement of this new technology.
What I really appreciate is the work Mike Rothenberg and his group of companies are doing on fear and phobias. But I think it's interesting to realize that we are very rarely afraid of what is happening to us in the moment. We are usually afraid of what has already happened or what may happen to us in the future. Usually when something scary is really happening, we deal with it. However, when we are feeling frightened, we do need something to help us move through the experience. One thing I've found very helpful and has helped many of my clients is to say, and it can be repeated, is, I am safe. And you can say it a few times, I am safe, I am safe. Or I may be feeling afraid, but I am safe. From a spiritual and metaphysical perspective, the words I am are very powerful. They are a universal command, and as we say I am safe, or I am beautiful, or I am loving, we create that reality.
Thanks, Michelle. And I am in full agreement with you that we do create our own reality.
And I am certain that it's wonderful to see these creative people making new technology that eases our fears instead of adding to them.
Mm-hmm. In a moment, we're going to get a crystal clear look at why you should rethink the low-fat, no-fat hype when it comes to dairy products. Nutrition is a key ingredient in keeping our brains healthy. So in every episode of Healing Quest this season, we'll be bringing you expert advice on the best in brain foods.
Our source is Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, a nutritional therapy expert, and his topic today is dairy. And as you'll see, he has some very strong opinions on this subject.
Dairy has been demonized too. The anti-cholesterol fanatics have dominated academic thinking in the U.S. for the last 50 years in the Western European world. It should be low fat. God put the fat there for a reason. The fat has all the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. They find them in the fat portion of the milk. Take away the fat, you're taking all the essential nutrients. And I challenge anyone out there to tell me skim milk tastes good. It tastes like white water. Whole milk has all the nutrients that are meant to be there that sustain life. Now, of course, there's milk and there's milk. Pasteurized milk is heated to 230 degrees. Guess what? The enzymes in milk are destroyed above 117 degrees. When you heat anything to 230 degrees, you're basically sterilizing it. And it absolutely is useless. So milk should be horror of horrors, what I'm about to say, raw milk. Raw milk is not allowed in most states, but you can get it usually if you join a buyer's club. So the milk should be raw from grass-fed cows. You want a cow that's out there having fun on the range, eating grass. That's what they should eat. Grass-fed cows produce good quality milk with lots of nutrition. Feedlot animals, and a lot of dairy now feedlot-based, where they're feeding them grains and synthetic junk and waste products and chicken feed and that kind of junk. Cows, a good legitimate cow is never going to eat chicken feed. They're going to eat grass. But the cows raised in industrial farms, industrial farming situations, are fed all this waste junk. And of course, I wouldn't want to drink that raw milk. It's not safe. But milk from a grass-fed cow, handled properly by a farmer that really cares about it's going to be perfectly safe.
I'm just thinking about cheese and butter, the other two.
Well, fortunately, raw cheese is available in the supermarket retail market because, it's fermented. So the FDA, thank you for allowing that to be available, does allow it to be available. Not milk per se in most states, but raw cheese is available. And of course, a lot of European cheeses are raw. They're smarter than we are. They don't want to pasteurize. This fanaticism that you got to kill all the germs in food. It's ridiculous. Butter was demonized like most dairy products. Butter is an essential food. It's like coconut oil. It's got essential fats that the brain needs, that we need. It's a wonderful food. And it also gives taste to food. You know, they talk about the French paradox. The French eat huge amounts of butter, and they have 1/4 the amount of heart disease that we do. They eat things like pâté, which is pure fat, and organ meats like liver pâté. And they just, you know, they thrive on that stuff, and they have very little heart disease compared to what we've had traditionally. So it's not the butter. Butter's a good food. The saturated fats in butter are really important. Saturated fat is not the enemy. We really need saturated fats for a lot of reasons, including brain function. We're going back to that. Butter, to me, is a brain food. It's got those wonderful saturated fats. When you think about the brain, I know I'm repeating myself, I've got to remember it's 60% fat. Some of them are unsaturated, but a lot of it's saturated. Butter, like coconut oil, has the right proportions and the right mix of saturated fats that really help feed the brain. So every time you eat a piece of butter, think of your IQ going up 2 or 3 points.
Sounds good to me, because I think everything's better with butter.
Especially our IQ, I guess. Well, what Dr. Gonzalez was talking about, what he felt so passionately about, is the concept that not all fats are bad. As a matter of fact, we need to welcome the good fats, like the fats from grass-fed milk, cheese, and butter, into our diets.
In fact, we heard the very same thing from our certified natural chef, Carla DeLongre, when we asked her to whip up a healthy breakfast for us.
This morning we're going to be doing some bloomin' eggs. This is a recipe that actually uses bell peppers as the flower petals, and it makes it look like it's a beautiful little flower for your breakfast. And we're also going to do a side of bacon. Now, breakfast has a lot of controversy around the topic. A lot of people think, oh, I should stay away from bacon, I should stay away from eggs, the cholesterol, the fat. Well, I'm going to talk about how this is actually a really healthy breakfast. This is free-range grass-fed bacon, which this makes all the difference of making healthy fat or bad fat. So we got our pan nice and hot, and we're going to add our bacon here. And then we're going to get our pan nice and hot for our eggs. I like to use raw butter. This is grass-fed raw butter. Raw butter actually has all the fats that you need. It helps with the brain function, it helps with mental clarity, it actually even helps with the lubrication in your joints. We're going to do a nice large slab of this to make sure that we don't let our eggs stick to the pan. You can also use ghee. Ghee is a really amazing ingredient. It's actually clarified butter. It's a really, really amazing thing to use for high heat recipes. So while that's heating up, I'm going to get my flower petals ready, which are my bell peppers. And you cut them in rings, about 1/2 inch thick. We're going to add a ring of our bell pepper. Make sure it's nice and hot. You want it nice and hot so that the egg stays within the ring, and also so that the egg doesn't absorb the butter and stick to the pan. This is nice and hot. We're going to add this to it. I like to add it, put the egg first in a ramekin or a cup. That way you have a little bit more control. You don't break the yolk. Now, a lot of people think that you should only have egg whites because they're concerned about the cholesterol. Well, the egg yolk actually has choline in it, and choline is a really amazing benefit to the liver. It's actually one of the only elements in nature that helps to cleanse the liver. There we go. Now, what I like to do is I add a little bit of Celtic sea salt. So we have that in there, and now we're going to steam, almost poach our eggs. And I turn the heat off and let that just simmer, because the bottom is going to get just slightly crispy while the top gets nice and steamed, and then the yolk still maintains its a little bit of a runniness. Healthy fats are really, really important for brain function. It's really good for your lubricants of your joints. It actually helps to sustain the collagen in your skin as well, so it's almost like an anti-aging. I really think that it's extremely important to keep fats in your diet. This low-fat craze is actually really dangerous. They've seen a lot of different things in the U.S. where they've decreased the fat in our diets, yet obesity is at an all-time high. So really, it's not about the fat, it's actually about the good fat. It's about your sourcing, where you're getting your fat. So there you have it. These are the bloomin' eggs. It's one of my favorite dishes. There you go. Add a couple slices of bacon to it. Garnish with a little bit of fresh fruit. There you have it, bloomin' eggs.
So it turns out that the right kind of bacon and eggs can really be health food.
And Carla says don't forget that bacon isn't the only source of meat for a healthy breakfast.
Well, she says remember sausages, patties, and breakfast links as well, as long as they come from grass-fed, pasture-raised sources.
Now, we have one more nutrition tip to share with you today.
We're talking about bread, and more specifically, wheat. There's been a lot of debate recently about wheat and gluten, a mixture of two proteins that all wheat grains contain.
Now, consuming gluten can be downright dangerous for those with celiac disease, less so for people with gluten intolerance. But the question is, have the rest of us taken this gluten-free craze thing too far?
I recently asked Chef Michael Toohey, who you met last week on Healing Quest, just that. How do you feel about gluten?
I love it.
Okay.
I love, I just, I'm honestly not on board with the gluten-free industry and movement.
Okay.
I think it's, I understand that there's a very, very small percentage of people that are celiac disease, and then everybody else might have wheat sensitivities, but I think that really comes from just eating the wrong kind of wheat. Overly refined, just ridiculously processed, too many additives, and it's more about that's causing the issues than the wheat itself. If you're going to eat wheat products, find really good organically made breads, like artisan breads. Go to your bakery and buy the breads that are fresh that day. They're not meant to have shelf life.
Yes.
And if you want shelf life on the bread, take that fresh bread, cut it up into small pieces, wrap it in foil, stick it in a plastic bag in your freezer, and then take it out periodically and toast it off in the oven. Bring it back to temperature, drizzle olive oil on it, put some salt, lardo, whatever. You still have that good bread.
Okay.
It may not be as good as the day that it was made out of the bakery, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty darn good still.
It's good.
But if you just leave it sit, it's going to go hard as a rock, and then you make croutons or panzanella with it or something, or bread pudding. So that's eat good bread. Bread's not meant to have shelf life.
Some extra wisdom in that phrase, our daily bread. It seems to me that Chef Toohey's pretty adamant that the good stuff shouldn't stay around uneaten much longer than a day.
Yes, and I don't think Chef Toohey is suggesting that those who have true celiac or gluten intolerant conditions shouldn't take care. But some of us ready to snub that perfect artisan loaf we see at the bakery, we might just think twice next time.
Who could that be?
That'd be me. It's an old cliche from the dating personals. Love's long walks on the beach. What is it about a pretty beach and the ocean at sunrise that evokes not only romance, but peace and serenity? If it's been a little while since you've been there, we hope you'll relax and enjoy our healing moment.
Beautiful. Seems to me we might have a wedding anniversary coming up sometime soon.
It's the same time every year.
Wow, it's amazing how you never forget that. At any rate, I maybe could see a Hawaiian trip coming up in our future.
Promises. Okay, I'm there. You just get the tickets.
You guys will have to write in and find out if that really happened. But before we go to the airport, we should say that if you'd like to learn more about Louis Schwartzberg's great nature photography and his moving art project, we have the link for you at healingquest.tv.
And we also want to say a big thank you to Jane Rivar and her team here at River Highlands Ranch in the foothills outside Grass Valley, California, where we're shooting this season.
Thanks to them for being such terrific hosts, and thanks to all of you for watching.
That's our Healing Quest for now. Please remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And join us next time, right here on Healing Quest.
On our next Healing Quest, New insights into a healing power that reaches us through our ears.
There's no side effects, and you don't even need to refill your prescriptions.
We'll explore the awesome power of music to help us heal and the effort to understand how that happens.
Also, a modern tale of survival that involves an ancient form of healing and borders on the miraculous.
They had called everyone, my doctors, they said I wasn't going to make it, and my parents, everyone should say goodbye to me.
We'll see what saved this woman whose illness had baffled Western medicine for 12 years. That and more on the next Healing Quest.
Broadcast of this program made possible by
So True, makers of organic, fermented whole food nutrition. All So True products are non-GMO, gluten and soy free, and fermented to help unlock the full potency of each ingredient. More information is available at SoTrue.com. So True, whole food nutrition designed for your best self.
Prime, a daily dietary supplement designed to support cardiovascular health by boosting the production of nitric oxide. More information available at primeno.com.
Vital Choice Seafood, wild-caught seafood and whole food supplements rich in omega-3s. More information about our wild seafood and our sustainable practices is available at www.vitalchoice.com or at 800-608-4825.
For more information on the stories in today's show and on upcoming Healing Quest live events, visit us at healingquest.tv.
To order a DVD of this episode of Healing Quest, call 877-544-4827 or write the address on your screen.